Yes, first of all, I think it's always important to be honest and not to hide behind the facts. So for me, a Premier League season is always split into three parts. So the first part are always the first 10 games. And yes, of course, each and every team wants to start as positive and as strong as possible. And as a newly promoted side or a side who fights against relegation, let's be honest, in this first 10 games, you should be there and win 8, 9, perhaps even 10 points to have a solid foundation for the whole season. And yes, with just 2 points, we're nowhere near to this target. And yeah, at the moment, you have to say then it's definitely not good enough in order to earn the right also to stay on this level for another year. That's definitely a fact. Then the next upcoming games is more like the main part of the season. The next 20 games is more like the period when the table is made. And actually, you should need to win 18, 19 points out of this period in order to bring yourself in a good position then for the crunch time period, the third part, the last 8 games, when it's also about keeping the nerves, about staying cool and with some results to bring it over the line. So again, so you should be there after 30 games, let's be honest, with 28, 29 points. And yeah, you have to say we're heading right now into the second part of the season. So this 20 games when the table is made. And yeah, let's be honest, normally 18, 19 points, which would be normally the target, won't be enough for us. So pressure is a bit on us. So to win more than 20 points, perhaps even 25 points during this period. And yes, let's be honest, it's definitely possible. And we are also convinced that we're capable to do this, but it's also a big ask for a team who was just capable to win just 2 points out of their first 10 games. So this is more or less the situation anyhow. And we know that the pressure after 10 games and just 2 points a bit is on us. It's more like we were focused during this week in order how we approach also this next main part of the season. And what we have to do, it's not like against Leeds, it's not like against Brighton or Burnley or Arsenal or Everton or Watford or Leicester. They've played us out of the park. It was always like a goalless draw, or mostly we lost with 1 goal, always a bit unlucky. But always unlucky is also not good enough anyhow. We were focused during this week on the topics what we have to improve. And there are 2 things. So we definitely have to improve in both boxes. The quality in both boxes has to be better, yeah, because we're not playing for warm words or for having tight games or for some compliments or some sympathy because of unlucky VAR decisions. We're playing for points, and if we want to get points, we need to improve in both boxes. And the second topic, also in comparison to Leeds game, I got the feeling so we need to return a bit more to our normal DNA with dominating the ball a bit better and being better and dominating in possession. I got the feeling against Leeds, we're definitely not the worst side, but I think we also played with too many chip balls, too many long balls, and how to return a bit back to be better in our possession was also quite a topic during this week. So, of course, in general, so against the big teams, also not that easy anyhow to dominate Man City and Chelsea anyhow with 80% possession. But in general, I got the feeling so this is also a topic we need to improve. And this is a situation, this was our focus then during this week. Yes, because obviously the pressure right now in the next 20 games is on us, and we want to win as many points as possible. Listen, this is in our situation the main topic, to improve these young players, to improve this young group, and then the end to find this quality. And again, I'm just concentrated on this job, and believe me, so I'm also not addicted to any contracts or to money or something like this. I'm in a privileged situation. It's different in comparison perhaps to 10 years ago once I started my career as a coach. If I would have the feeling I'm not the right one anyhow to do this, to improve these players and make them better, if I would have the feeling there's someone out who would do this in a better way anyhow, I would be the first one who knocks at the door at our key people. And I also got the same feeling with our board. And also our key people. Right? It's just if they have the feeling anyhow that there's someone out who is better for this group anyhow, who works better with this group, yeah, they would sign him up. That's also definitely the fact. So on this level, it's not about what happened in the past. So let's be honest. So for me, it's also not important what happened in the last 10 games. Yeah, with all respect also to myself, but also all respect, whatever, to our bus driver, but let's be honest, even if our bus driver would be in charge for the first 10 games, he couldn't be there with much less points. Let's be honest. So 2 points in 10 games. Yeah, you have to be honest and realistic. And it's I think a fair point to say. But there's also not a guarantee that whoever would be in charge, let's say one of the coaches in the top three, Thomas or Jürgen or Pep would be in charge. They would have won more points. But that's also not the topic anyhow. That's not important. It's also not important that we had the best season of the history in last season, or we won in the last 3 years 2 times the championship title. It's not that the board or our key people think about what happened in the past and we have to be grateful and thankful, or that I think I'm such a great coach because I was whatever championship manager of the year in last season and I think runner up on the short list behind Pep anyhow in this country. It's not important for me. Just important not what happened in the past, not what happened in the first 10 games. It's more like who is the right guy in charge in order to lead this club and to develop its young players. And believe me, I'm always a fighter. I'm also fully convinced that we can improve. And if I wouldn't be convinced, I would be the first one who knocks at the door of my main people anyhow. And this is our situation. So for that, I'm not 1% thinking about this topic anyhow. I'm just concentrating on, okay, how can I help these young players? How can I help my players who are also struggling a bit with confidence, with wisdom, with adapting to this top level? When I think, for example, about Josh Sargent, always great work effort, great work ethic. He fights each and every game, works his socks off. Yes, but of course we want him to get off the target in terms of scoring goals, and this is how I want to help him. And Ozan Kabak, for example, I think he was there with an excellent performance, but he's still a young player anyhow. He's just 21, and if he's then 25, he probably won't take that much risk in the build-up like he did, for example, before the second goal for Leeds. And we know once you work with young players anyhow, then sometimes there was mistakes out there, not there with this unbelievable consistency and effectiveness anyhow. But this is what we have to deliver in order to improve. And for that, I'm just concentrating on this topic and not on each and everything else. Yeah, it's not available. Groin adductor issue anyhow. He's out. Will also miss games for Scotland anyhow. He's out for 2 to 3 weeks. There's perhaps a little bit of hope that he comes or is available for the next home game anyhow, but it's also pretty doubtful. Yes, we have to wait how the re-up will develop. Yes, that's right. So of course, one topic was not helpful for the Chelsea game to have him not available, and we missed him also in the last game, no doubt about this, because Ben is a big leader for our group. There's also a big question mark behind Ozan Kabak. He's struggling with glandular fever anyhow, and a big question mark is if he's really available for tomorrow. So he could also miss out, and of course also Christoph Zimmermann is still out. So for that, even better that we have Ben Gibson back available. Yes, we'll see. So not a topic for us at the moment. So again, I've made my point also in the last weeks. End of last week, he was again not able to train due to back problems, and was not able then to play for the under 23 at Newcastle anyhow. So for that, he can't be then 7 days later topic anyhow for first team. Is also not. Also doesn't fit to my values and my principles. It's not like because we have lost the game anyhow, I lose my nerves, and right now I lose all the values and principles, how we work, and then bring a player out of panic back in anyhow. The first topic is more or less like it's due to him. He has to make sure that he can train 2 weeks in a row anyhow without mistake, without being out due to injuries or whatever reasons anyhow. So that's the first step anyhow. He needs to find his rhythm, his fitness back, to be then prepared for Premier League level. But at the moment he's not even close anyhow. So again, he missed training sessions, even the game on last for the under 23 last weekend. So for that, not a topic for the first team at the moment. Yes, I think it's always important to be honest. And what I've said is that at the moment, the quality and both boxes is lacking at the moment. But there's not a lack of potential. And again, I'm also fully convinced that, for example, the club and Stuart Webber has done an outstanding job, because, like I mentioned before, 2 years ago, we had a group of players. Let's be honest, we were heading into the Premier League, and these players were struggling before. Many of them, for example, were playing for a contract in the second tier in Germany. We had to be competitive on Premier League level. And it was unbelievably difficult. But our hands were a bit tied to do some financial sins in the past. This time around, it was, of course, different anyhow. But we could also use the sell of Emi Buendia anyhow. It's, of course, not normal for a newly promoted side that you have to sell probably your best player anyhow, because you want to keep your best players together. But we could use this money in order to bring some players with lots of potential. And it was still not possible, let's be honest, for us to bring, for example, a player, if you want to bring a striker in on this level, who is a proven goal scorer, Danny Ings, and you probably need 25, 30 million pounds. We were not capable to do this. So for that, we opted to go with Josh Sargent. And believe me, this guy is full of potential. He's working so hard, and one day he will be one of really, really good Premier League strikers, also delivering with many goals, with many assists. But of course, when you go for such a young guy anyhow, with lots of potential, who has proved, at least on Bundesliga level already, it's not a guarantee that he can deliver with this consistency, like, for example, Danny Ings. Or the same is also there in terms of centre backs. Yeah, of course, we had also some centre backs we wanted to bring in, but it would have meant anyhow to spend 15, 20 million pounds for these players. With also, I think it's not a secret, some offers for players with quality, but these were rejected anyhow. And it's also still important anyhow to be brutally honest. And if there's a question, how can that be that we are not capable to bring a player like Danny Ings in, or proven Premier League centre back anyhow? Yes, that's what we are. Norwich City, self-funding club, and we don't risk the future of the club, and we don't spend money that we don't have. So we have to earn the money before we can spend it. So we earned the money with Emi Buendia, and we brought then with this money all the players in, Josh Sargent, Milo Drasica, Pierre Lesmelou, Angus Gunn, Brent Williams unknown, Billy Gilmore unknown, and all the other players. So it's Matthias Norman, for example, Ozan Kabak on loan. And I think these are all players with unbelievable potential, more potential than the players, with all respect to them, as much as I loved this type of players 2 years ago. And they've done fantastic for us, especially on championship level. But these are also players who will be one day competitive on Premier League level. And we even knew in the summer, yeah, of course, it's easier if you have a good start in terms of confidence, in terms of rhythm. If you don't have a good start, then it could be also a bit tricky, because we work with many loan players, we may work with many young players. But let's be honest, in our first season on Premier League level, this will be always our approach. And this we also have to be honest in these topics. If you are capable to stay for 1, 2, 3 years in a row on Premier League level, then hopefully we are also capable to bring a striker in who costs 20 million pounds, to bring a centre back in who costs 50 million pounds. At the moment, or at least in last summer, we were not capable to do this. We need also a little bit that, yeah, a bit of, okay, it works straight away with this young players in order to then take the next steps. Because as soon as these young players work, they have then the quality for Premier League level. And then you can concentrate perhaps on the next transfer window to bring this 1 or 2 players in for 15, 20 million points, not 7 or 8 players anyhow, to add then this extra bit of quality. Yes, perhaps even not to be worried even about relegation. But yes, in the first season, it will always be a tough struggle anyhow. And sadly, yeah, we couldn't give a guarantee that it works out. If it would be that easy, let's be honest, in the last 2 or 3 decades, we would have been able to manage to stay longer on Premier League level. That's just a brutal honesty. But it doesn't mean that we give up. So, like I mentioned before, I'm fully convinced of this group, that they have the potential. Anyhow, it's tricky, yeah, because yeah, with young players, you never have a guarantee that they adapt pretty quick, especially after a tough start. Anyhow, yes, and let's be honest, the pressure is on us. So next 20 games, we need to win probably 20, 25 points in order to give ourselves a chance in the last 8 games to bring it over the line. It's a big ask for such a young squad, but we are fully convinced still, and I'm also fully convinced that we can do this. And I got the feeling the club and Stuart has backed us also what we want to do as much as it was possible with this club in the summer. Yes, and some other clubs were then not in this need perhaps to sell one of their key players. They were then capable to bring players for 15, 20 million pounds in. But again, I don't want to use it as an excuse. It's just a fact. So I'm fully convinced that Ozan Kabak, like Matthias Norman, Josh Sargent, Milo Drasica, even Pierre Lesmelou is in a good age, and in his first season of Premier League football, they will be one day players who are then rated with 15, 20 million pounds. And then we are in a much better position as a club. But yes, at the moment, it's like I mentioned, 2 points after 10 games. It's tough. It's also tough. You don't have any arguments. And for that, there's also all the criticism is right. You can't hide away, and you have to accept this because you don't have any arguments on your side. It's just for me and for us also quite important not to lose the nerves and not to lose the beliefs. And especially also for me not to lose the belief in our players, because I'm fully convinced of this squad.